Hey, good morning. Welcome, everyone, to Mindful Movement with AARP Alabama. I am your host, Margie Curry, and we're so glad that you joined us this morning. We have again with us today our very capable, talented, and experienced yoga instructor, Becca Impello, who has been teaching and practicing yoga for more than 20 years. We want to remind you, everyone, that AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. We're just so glad to have you this morning. We want you to remember that before you begin any exercise program, to please check with your physician. All right, Becca, what we have today?
Good morning, Margie. Hi. Well, today I thought we would focus in on the hips today. So that's the crucial area of the body. Lots of people may lose some, range of motion or strength or, function in their hips as they age. And it's an important area for us to, to take care of. So we'll be focusing our efforts mostly on the hip, although we'll move the rest of the body as well.
All right. Sounds fantastic. We're so glad that everybody is able to stay engaged from their home. And that's what AARP does, give you that opportunity to stay engaged and be involved in physical movement. Just make sure you check with your physician before you begin any exercise program. So Becca, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Margie. Well, yes. And as Margie said, we want you to be participating, if it's appropriate for you. And then also, even if you've gotten clearance, you want to be making wise choices. If anything that I suggest or show you to do today doesn't seem to fit right with your body, you can skip it. You can change it. So you are always empowered in that way. So let's sit tall. We're going to use our chair to start with, and we'll sit in our chair and do some warm-up movements. And then we will do some standing as well, and we'll have that chair available if you need it to hold on to when we're upright and standing. All right, so just to sit tall for a moment, let those arms drop down to your sides, kind of bring the chest a little broader, get up tall through the crown of the head, and we're just going to do a couple of what I like to call grounding breaths. So it's a breath and a movement of the body that it can be helpful for sort of helping us feel our base, which right now is our seat, our hips, right? And be in the present moment, right? So many people find it a calming or a focusing way of breathing. So you're going to start with your hands or palms facing forward or facing up. And then as you inhale, you can raise those arms, those hands any height. It could be all the way overhead, or it might be something less than that. And then on the exhale, we're going to turn our palms down and just bring them right down to the lap or right down to your legs, right? Now, so if you don't feel like moving your arms a whole lot today, you might do your inhale with your palms up and then flip them down as you exhale, right? So you don't even have to make a big movement. We can always modify everything to just about anybody's, ability or capacity on any given day. All right, so here we go. Your grounding breath, inhale, big breath in through the nose. And then your exhale could be through the nose or it could be through the mouth if that feels more natural. All right, and maybe your breath is shorter or longer than mine. You don't have to try to match mine necessarily. In fact, if you want, you could just close your eyes and do this about 3 or 4 more times on your own. Sit tall, take a big breath in, slow breath out, feel your feet, feel your hips on the chair. I'm going to do 2 more. All right, and then you can open your eyes if they were closed, all right? And let's roll the shoulders. We're going to get the whole body a little bit of movement here, and, then we'll zero in on those hips with a couple of special things for them. But let's move the shoulder blades, move that upper back. Make this as big as it's comfortable to make. To me, this one always feels like a massage for my upper back and shoulders. 2 or 3 more shoulder rolls. All right, and then shoulders stay back and down, and let's turn the head side to side, right and left. All right, and then bring that head back to center. Drop your chin down to your chest, but make sure you're still sitting up tall and you're pulling your shoulders back a little bit. And then let's roll that head from shoulder to shoulder. All right, and then bring that head back to center, pick the head up. All right, now let's bring that awareness down to the pelvis, to our hips, right? So I want you just to start by shifting your weight side to side, right? And so just get aware of your sitting bones, how you get heavy on one, when you lighten up and lift on the other. All right, then we're going to start to add a little more motion to this. So lean to one side and then take it forward and over to the other side and then a little bit back. So we're making a circle, or we're circling around, and I want you to really notice the feeling of your pelvis, the weight bearing you're doing there, and this crease of the hips here at the top of the thigh as you make this movement around. Now you can get a little more, fluid with it if you want to sort of get a little more of the rib cage going, moving this torso, going sort of rounded, pushing the chest forward. You can make it bigger or smaller as you like. Go the other way a few times now. Circle around. Again, feel that weight shifting, rolling on the hips. Get the torso moving. All right, come back to center, sit up tall. All right, now we're going to do a little folding or bending, right? So try to get your feet, your knees a little bit apart, a little bit open, right? And we're just going to bend forward, right? So I'm just leaning forward with my whole body, and this deepens the fold here at the hips, put some stretch here on the back, right? You might keep your hands on your knees as you do this, or you might let those hands slide down towards the feet or towards the floor. And then come on back up. So go as far as feels comfortable for you. It may get a little looser as you repeat it a few times, right? And you might find that you can go a little further. If you're getting a signal from your body that says, don't do that, or to be careful, then you should certainly listen in. Good. We're going to go 3 more times. Fold. And then back up. Fold. And back up. Now, on this last one, you have the option, if you want, to stay there for just a little bit. And again, the hands might be on the knees. You might be on the shins or on the feet or on the floor. You can come up at any time. I'm going to stay for 2 more breaths. Good. All right, let's bring it all back up. All right, now hopefully you still got your feet, your knees out wide. So what we're going to do next to move the hips is to squeeze the knees in towards the middle and then push them back out wide. So bring them in and push them out. So they may or may not come all the way together and touch. It depends on how wide you started and what that mobility in your hips is like. So you're just going as far as you can go. This is maybe giving you a little stretch or awareness of the outside of the hips as you try to bring those knees to the middle. Good. About 3 more times. In and out. All right, now 1 leg at a time, we're going to essentially draw a circle with the knee, right? So I'm going to let my knee come in and then pick this knee up and try to draw sort of a circle there. So knee comes in to start the bottom of the circle, up as high as I can and back out wide. Knee in, up and around. Now this is actually moving the hip. Even though I'm talking about the knee, we're not really doing much with the knee joint. What we're doing is mobilizing our hip joint, right? And it may be tight, it may be hard to lift it up. Just do the best you can. Stop and rest anytime you need. All right, one more in that direction, and then we're going to switch to the other leg. All right, so other knee, let it drop in first, and then pick it up and circle it around back to where it started. So knee drops in, pick that leg up as high as you can, circle it out wide. Good, couple more. Do you notice a difference on this side, right? So a lot of times our two hips have a big difference in how they feel and how far they move and, you know, how tight they are or how strong they are. Last one. So see what you're noticing. All right, now let's walk those feet closer together and sit up tall. You can always hold on for this one if you want. And we're just doing a simple march. So we're still working the hip here in the front. In just a moment, we're going to stretch that same area, or I'm going to give you some options for stretching that part of the hip. For now, let's march. Stay up tall in your spine, no leaning or rolling back. If this is a real hard one for you to get that leg up, you could give yourself a little assist. You can pick your leg up with your knee. Uh-oh, here I am. I'm back. Sorry about that. One knee at a time, or maybe you don't need to use the hands. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, great. Now, we've been doing some motions here that really use the front of the hips, the hip flexor muscles, we call them. Now we're going to try to stretch them out. So what I want you to do is to turn sideways in the chair. If you find that this is difficult to do in the chair, just hold tight. I'm going to show you a way to do it in standing instead. But if you can, try sitting sideways in the chair, and you're going to let that front leg drop down. Right? So this leg is off of the chair. I can hold on, right? And I try to get this leg as far back as I can. Just see what my hip lets me do. Some people, it's going to be right here with the knee a little bit in front of the body. Some people, it's going to be knee straight below the hip. And some people, it might be the leg a little further back. All right, now, if this doesn't feel like a great place for you, try standing up. You can hold on to your chair, and you're just stepping into a lunge, okay, with that leg back. So that's a way to do that in standing. All right, so either position, I want you to squeeze that buttock, right? If you're not sure that you squeezed it, reach back and touch, poke. You'll feel that firmness, all right? All right, so that should start to open up the hip. You can also add a reach up of that same arm. All right, now let's take a few breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. One more. And release. All right, let's try it the other way. So if you're staying in the chair, you're doing this sort of kneeling lunge in the chair. Turn the other way, let that front leg drop off. Hold on to the back of the chair so you stay secure. Again, your leg might be at a different angle than mine. There's a lot of different places it could be depending on how tight your hip is. Remember, you can do it standing. All right, squeeze the buttock. All right, and then maybe add that reach up of the arm. And then breathe. And release. All right, bring it back to the front. Check in how those hips feeling so far. Let's come on up to standing so we can continue some of this work with the hips. All right, so we're going to start with using our chair as a platform where we can put our hands, right? So I call this tabletop position. You can also do tabletop down on the floor and hands and knees, but let's use the seat of the chair. Put the hands down in the chair, get the feet back so that they feel like they're underneath your hips, all right? And let's go ahead and do cat and cow. This helps get the whole spine and the pelvis and the hips. So we're gonna push into the chair, get rounded, let the head drop, tuck the pelvis under, and then we're gonna take it the other way. And it's helpful to bend your knees here, right? So that you can get your fanny up, right? And your back flat, your chest up. All right, let's go back and forth. Good, about 3 more. All right. Now, we want to be somewhere sort of in the middle of those two, right? Not rounded, but you don't have to be all the way in that more arched position. Again, soft knees are going to be helpful here. Let's circle the hips. I'm pushing my hips around to one side, circling back behind my feet, over the ankles, push them over to the side. So just making that nice big swirl or circle there. Now go the other way. Okay, and then come back to center. Now this next one, before we change positions, is a little shifting where you have one knee bending and one knee straightening, right? So I'm just shifting back and forth. And in order to get this more in the hip, that side that you're straightening, right? So whichever leg you're straightening, you want to shift your weight to that side. You want almost like trying to push back into the center of that hip. And then go the other way. Good, so we're just shifting those hips side to side with a little weight shift into that leg. This is one of my favorite ones to loosen up the hips and get the glutes and the piriformis and all these muscles here in our buttock. Get them some good stretching. All right, now we're going to add one more thing to this if you want to try it. So I'm going to straighten my right knee. I've got my weight shifted back into my right heel. And then I'm going to turn to the right, pushing in my left hand, my left arm, and just turning, twisting the chest. Feeling a little more stretch here in that hip when I do that. You may be feeling it more in your spine or in your hamstrings. That's okay. And then let's unwind it, soften that knee, straighten that other knee as much as you're comfortable with. And then again, weight shifted into that left heel, left foot, and turn left. All right, and then back to center and walk it up tall. Take a moment on your feet, check in, how you feeling? All right, now we're going to turn the chair around. We want to be able to use the back of the chair as something to hold on to if needed, right? If you feel like you don't need that, you can give yourself a little more challenge to your balance and whatnot by not holding on. All right, now we're going to be working on hip extension now. We did a lot of hip flexion and seated, so we're working on that opposite side of the muscle. All right, so I'm going to squeeze that leg back, one leg back, while I bear weight on the other, and then bend that knee and really squeeze up. And again, maybe I'm holding on, maybe I'm trying not to, and then all the way down. Other side, so shift the weight, squeeze back. Again, that glute should get firm. You can always poke to see, and then bend the knee, hold there, and release. Let's do that again. Squeeze back. Try not to arch or lean, right? Bend the knee. Imagine that you're pushing your foot back into a wall. And release. Other side, bend the knee. Or I'm sorry, squeeze back first. Glute is firm. Bend the knee. Push back with that foot. Let's do it one more time on each side. Squeeze back. Bend the knee. Push back. And down. Last one. Squeeze. Bend. Push. And release. All right. Give it just a little march in place. All right. Now, let's go ahead and step back. Take a long step back. All right. Front knee straight. And then just lean into that chair any amount. This is just to give us a stretch through the back of the leg there. Good. 2 more breaths here. Good. Now keep that front knee straight, but come up a little higher. And then see if you can turn to the left, right? So I'm turning towards the leg that's forward, but I'm also going to try to hug that hip into the middle, right? So as I turn, it could be that I shifted that way. So I'm going to try to hug my hips in like I'm trying to squeeze to the middle. As I do a little turn, it's like my legs are scissors, right? So I'm going to see if I can pull my scissors together, like I'm trying to close my scissors. All right, unwind or turn that back to the front, step in. Let's step back with the other side. Okay, so front knee straight and lean forward. And you just stop wherever it is that your body says, oh, that's enough, right? You get that signal that that stretch is enough. You want to be able to breathe into that, not feel like you're having to hold your breath or, guard your body. All right, and then let's bring it back up tall. The legs are still in this stance, split stance or scissor stance. And then we turn to the right, hug the hips in like you're trying to close your scissors, right? Pull your feet towards one another, hug your hips in towards each other. All right, and then back to center, step in. All right. Now, stand, especially if you want that chair for support, you're going to stand with the chair on one side, all right? And we're going to do a similar motion that we did when we were seated with our hips. And then after we do a couple of those, we're going to end up staying in a wide-legged squat. That's great for the outer hips, all right? So the movement that we did, if you remember, is that we brought the knee across and we tried to draw a big circle, all right? So bring that outside leg up and around, in, up, out, in, up, out. 2 more. Now big step out and we're going to stay out. All right, let both toes turn a little bit out. All right, and then take it down into a wide squat. Push the knees out so you're kind of squeezing your buttocks back here. You can keep holding on, or you could take your arms up and out. You could keep your hands here if that feels more steady. All right, and you can take it lower in that squat if you want, or you can keep it up a little higher. Squeeze in, keep that squeeze to the buttocks. One more breath. Good. And release and walk the feet back together. If you're still using your chair, go ahead and turn yourself around so that you can have the other side close to the chair. All right. Again, maybe you're not holding on. Maybe you're working on balance here additionally. Whoops. It's a little harder. So we're circling that leg, bringing it up, around, and out. Kind of cross the midline, up towards the chest, and then down and out. Standing leg gets some work with this one also. Good, let's do 2 more. And then this next one will stay out in our wide squat, also sometimes called goddess pose or yoga goddess pose. So toes are turned out, knees are turned out. You can sit down into it a little, squeeze together, maybe hold on, or find another position for the arms that you like. Your choice on how deep you're sitting into that squat. Good. And release. Walk the feet in. Take just a moment to notice. Hopefully you've got some sensation, some awareness in these muscles of your buttocks and in that hip joint all around. Let's come back to the chair to finish up with a couple more stretches that are great for the hip. All right, so the first one I want us to do is that one where we put the knees together. So start with your feet in, thighs relatively, normal width, not too wide. And then just press the knees together and see, is that enough? Is that difficult to do? Then stay there. If it's not too difficult, you try to get the feet a little further apart and you let the knees come even further in and down. So we're turning in. You can use your hands here to sort of help hold them together if you want. Right? You may feel some stretch or some pulling or some tightness around the upper outer thighs. All right, and then we let those come back out. All right, next one is our figure 4, which we do often because it's a great one for the hip. This is where we're crossing our leg either up on the ankle. We're crossing our ankle either up on the thigh or maybe just below the knee, or maybe even down towards the ankle. So whatever you can get so that your inner thigh and your inner knee are facing up to the ceiling. The higher you bring that leg, usually the more tension it's going to put on your hip. So it just depends on where you feel that, right? So once you've got that leg crossed and the knee dropped out or turned out, then sit up tall and maybe lean into it a little bit. Again, that depends on you, right? Do you have some room to lean in, or are you already at your limit? Either way, take a couple breaths. All right, let's bring that up now. Let's see if we can stay with this side. So you could stay wherever you are, okay? Or you could switch to a tight cross, right? Crossing the leg so that the thighs are together, the knees are together. So either position, you could stay in your figure 4 position if that's better, or you could cross up higher, right? And then we're turning towards the leg that's on top. Right? Maybe even using the hand to give that a gentle pull, right? So again, this puts a little more stretch down the outside of the hip, the outside of the thigh. Of course, it gives our spine a little mobility and stretch as well. Good, and then unwind that twist. Let's go to the other leg. All right, so you're figuring out where do you cross on this side. You know, if you're crossing on the shin or the ankle, you've probably, naturally extended that leg out, the support leg, so that you have, a place to put that ankle. All right, so then you sit up tall and see if there's some room to lean into it. Keep breathing. Notice what you're feeling. Again, it's a good chance to compare the two sides. For me, my left hip is a lot tighter, so I feel a big difference here. All right, now we take it to that cross leg twist. You could stay like this if that's best, for you. If the tight cross of the legs isn't so comfortable, stay in the figure 4 and then just try to give it as much of a twist as is comfortable. Good. And then release and unwind. Let's have both feet on the floor. You can scoot back in your chair a little bit more if you want to. Just pause for a moment. Check in. What did you notice? What did you learn about your hips today? About the way they moved, about different positions you could get your legs into, about the strength that you might have noticed in different positions and different movements. Just take a moment to, reflect on what you learned in your practice. And then I always think it's so important to give thanks for our body, right? So be thankful for your hips, even if they've got some limitations, right? They're still doing a lot for you every day, right? So give thanks, gratitude for your hips. And then let's finish with 3 of those grounding breaths like we did at the beginning. Remember, your hand movements could be small right here on your thighs, or any amount of movement up and down. All right, so 3 breaths. Inhale. As you exhale, settle yourself into your seat, into your body, in your energy. 2 more. All right, and then let's pause. 1 more breath with thanks. Maybe the hands together at the heart if you'd like. All right, and thanks to AARP for bringing us together for these mindful movement sessions. We hope you'll join us again.
Wow, Becca, fabulous session for our hips. We don't realize, but our hips are so very important to us as we age. Thank you so very much this morning. And thanks to all of you who turned in this morning to listen to us. We do appreciate you watching us, and we hope to see you again. Thanks, everybody, and have a great week.